You're listening to The Morning Show with Dave Hyde on 99.2 Hermitage FM. Online and on your smart speaker.
I've got Fowler on the phone. Hello, Fowler. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, great. Thank you very much. How's your week been?
Week's been good. I've been also working on a new song with the producer that I found on TikTok. And yeah, we've been working on that and been really excited working towards that, just writing the lyrics at the moment.
What's it been like to record during lockdown? Because I know your new single, Don't You Say, is out tomorrow. You did that via Zoom.
Yes, I've worked a lot over Zoom. I studied songwriting at university and I graduated last July. And yeah, we've been all the time writing over Zoom. So we, Don't You Say was written with my friend Erlend, who's in Norway actually. And we wrote that fully over Zoom. And all my final year project, all my songs were written over Zoom with different producers. And obviously it took a while to get used to it. But yeah, as you do get used to it, sending stems back and forth, it's actually quite exciting. And I find almost more productive because it's forced creativity, which is really, really good.
What did you study at university?
I actually studied songwriting at Leeds College of Music, now Leeds Conservatoire. So yeah, I studied songwriting for 3 years and really, really enjoyed it. First year I found quite tough because I came from school where contemporary music wasn't at the forefront, so I had to do quite a lot of it in my own time. And then starting a course where everyone is really talented, everyone was so good, so like you're constantly playing catch up. And so it took a while to adjust, but by my final year I was loving it, getting in the studio, writing with all these different people. And yeah, Leeds as well. It's a great music scene, great live music scene, so I had the best 3 years up there.
Because you said obviously you write contemporary music, but you've got some classical background.
I do, yes. So I started playing piano when I was about 5, and yeah, I was a classical pianist and a classical singer, and was classically trained from a young age. And I then transferred those skills into my songwriting and more contemporary style music when I was about 11, where I combined my piano and singing, started writing sort of mainly piano ballads back then, and then covering a lot of songs through my teenage years. And then my writing really took off when I went to Leeds and started learning more about the production base on Logic, and yeah, just sort of went from strength to strength, really.
Well, I've got to be honest, listening to the couple of tracks you've done, because you've obviously had your current single, which is Don't You Say, which is out now, and then before that you had Dressed in Black, and then was it Our Tree before?
Yeah, Our Tree, yeah. I wrote Dressed in Black around this time last year, just as we went into lockdown. I wrote it in my room in Leeds with a friend of mine called Ben Nimmo, who also plays the saxophone at the end, and he's a very talented producer, and we worked on that really hard. And I find when I'm writing, the best songs I write come to me very fast. So Don't You Say, really, with Ireland, we finished that in a couple of days, really. And Dressed in Black was very similar. Obviously, you fine-tune for a month or so afterwards, but the bass layer of the songs were put down very fast.
Well, the actual Our Tree was quite interesting because I watched the video and you're there playing the piano, and it's quite you can hear classical music within that track.
Yeah.
But then when you come through to Don't You Say, you've sort of upgraded into that into a more contemporary sort of artist. Within 3 songs, you've gone from 3 different styles.
Yeah, I've wanted to have that progression as an artist, really. Of course, I love my musical background and writing ballads. I still write ballads this day. And Our Tree was a song that I recorded with James Kenosha, who's worked with Birdie and Rose in the past and in his studio in Leeds. And he really brought my vision to life. And it's a beautiful song. I'm really happy with it. But yeah, and then Dressed in Black, it was an odd change. I wanted to write music that I listened to. So I made a move into more contemporary music. But Dressed in Black was more of that transition phase where I started playing with drums. I started playing with a bit of more of an upbeat, breakbeat track, and yeah, it's very Massive Attack vibe with that song. And yeah, it was more my transition phase into Don't You Say, which is definitely the sort of music I listen to, sort of alt pop, singer-songwriters, sort of going down that Glass Animals, Harry Styles sort of route. It's definitely and I've got a lot more songs like Don't You Say ready to go later this year.
So with Don't You Say, it seems like it's got a story, it's personal. You say it took you 2 days to write. With the other ones, you sort of, you were going through your styles. What was the motivation behind this particular song?
Well, Don't You Say, like I used to write songs which meant everything to me, and they were about a situation and very sort of tight to that situation. So all my friends would be like, "Oh, who's that about? What's that about?" all the time. But I would say Don't You Say is more a song based on a situation that I think everyone has found themselves in life at some point. In some different levels, of course, but I like it chronicles the story of a guy who's just split from his partner, and he starts to move on when his ex comes running back, and ask for a second chance, it leads to a clouded headspace. And I just wanted to outline that situation in a song and make it really punchy. And I think we definitely achieved that. I think the lyrics sort of complement the backing track really well.
So is this story about you? Have you been in that particular relationship where that's happened before?
I would say it's definitely happened to me in a form, not directly. The lyrics are sort of, I always enhance my lyrics and make them relatable to an audience. But of course, there's been situations like that in my past, but not to the extent that I write about. I always enhance to make it very relatable.
So when you obviously come from college and university, and then you go to write a song via Zoom. Now, you said you're quite comfortable doing that. What is it actually like to sort of go, right, okay, here's the stems, and then have someone who's probably not heard them instantly go, this is what it should, I like this, or make changes straight away, or what?
Yeah, I mean, me and Erlend, we've written another song called Illusion, which was actually the first song that we wrote together. So we have a period of writing together, and that was actually just before we went into lockdown. So it wasn't too long before, don't you say? But yeah, he came to me with the general idea, actually, and we agreed that we worked together. He came to me with the sort of synth background with the funky bass line, and yeah, we sort of worked on that together before writing the lyrics. And obviously over Zoom there's always a delay, and Wi-Fi cuts out, so that's always quite frustrating. But yeah, it does slow the process down. Like, it's nothing like being in the room with someone else. Like that does always, I think, make it's just a creative environment where you're just sort of playing off each other and using each other's strengths. So I think that's what I love about writing, and it is hard to replicate that through a screen, but I think we did it well. I mean, we got the lyrics down. I recorded the vocal take pretty fast, sent them through, and then I think we added the harmonies a couple of days later. Harmony's always been something that has always relatively come to me quite easily. I think that from my classical background, singing in choirs from a young age and singing in church and things like that. So yeah, harmony sort of comes to me. So when it comes to backing vocals, they never take too long. So yeah, the whole process was pretty quick.
Are your plans for the future sort of songs to include some of them choirs that you've worked with or been with or sung in to sort of try and enhance them vocals there? Just something completely different in the genre in which you're in at the moment?
Yeah, well, I mean, I layer backing vocals massively. I wrote a song recently called When You Need a Friend, which was actually my friend's Instagram page called Bear Sound shared it, and yeah, it's back to my sort of ballad format, but I layer vocals, I pan vocals, I do sort of like 40-50 vocal tracks to create that sort of choir environment. But of course, moving forward, when I have the resources, I'd love to use an external choir to really add to the song. I think I definitely write music which also suit that. Obviously,
your inspiration's been about your stories, emotional stories, people around you. Over lockdown, and have you been writing?
I have, yeah, I've been writing a lot. Unfortunately, I lost my grandmother to COVID earlier this year.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I mean, obviously it's sad. So many people have lost family members and friends, and it's obviously been a horrendous year for everyone. But I like turning situations like that into positive situations. And myself and my dad wrote a song for my grandma for the funeral, which is really nice. He's a big musician as well, and he's a great lyricist. So we wrote that together, and I've been writing a lot as well.
So what sort of stuff are you planning on doing for the future? Because obviously you said you've been writing, you said you started producing more tracks. Are you going to go a different way with the next couple of tracks, or is it staying the same sort of feel?
Well, it's a good question. I've actually got about 5 or 6 songs written in the pipeline, which I'm planning on releasing this year, or at least 4 or 5 of them this year. So I'm obviously Don't You Say is out, and I'm so happy with that. I love that song, and I hope it does well. And then I've written a song with some friends of mine, Eliza Lang, Alex and Tom, and there's a duet with me and Eliza, and that's coming out around summertime, which is it's a more ballad approach, a very acoustic, but I can't wait to get that out. And then I've got a couple of songs, like I said earlier, Illusion and one called One Night, so they're all going to follow later this year.
So you've got a full year ahead of you. 2021 is a big year for you.
It is indeed. It was always the plan. Dressed in Black gave me the momentum that I needed. Got a wider audience of listeners, and then I really took that momentum into sort of September, October, and started writing a lot. And yeah, I've got lots of songs to work with now, which is really, really exciting.
No, it sounds like it's going to be an interesting year. We'll be keeping our eyes and ears out for you as well. So Fowler, thank you very much for joining me this morning. And this is Don't You Say by Fowler, which is available from tomorrow.
You're listening to Dave
on 99.2 Hermitage FM.